Yo, what is up guys? Boy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video essentially is a rundown of the boxing schedule in February. Basically, I'll be going through all of the main cards and sharing my opinions on each fight in a brief manner. Basically, this video is what to look out for in February in the world of boxing. But we shall start on February the 6th, and this card is in Dubai, MTK card, headlined by Kareem Gurfee versus Lee Mcgregor. This fight is for the European Bantamweight title, and in my opinion, it's a pretty good fight, a good test for Lee Mcgregor. Lee McGregor, a young prospect coming out of Scotland, good amateur, and you know, this certainly is a big step up. In 9 fights, fighting for a European title, that is something quite impressive. Kareem Gurfee, a good European level operator. He's excelled at that level for a long time now. He's tough, he's durable, he's experienced, and he'll come to fight. I certainly expect him to test Lee McGregor, but I would imagine Lee McGregor runs out the winner in that fight. Just a bit, you know, he's younger, he's fresher, he's bigger as well. I believe McGregor wins, but I think Gurfee's going to give him a real test in this fight. Good bit of matchmaking for Lee McGregor, and it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on here, especially considering a little while ago he had that fight against Ukashia Farouk, a fellow Scottish prospect, and a lot of people felt he lost that fight. So he's basically wanting to rebound and win that European title in impressive fashion, and then he can kind of move on. Also on the undercard, you've got Sean Mccomb versus Gavin Guin. Decent fight for the Commonwealth title at lightweight. Sean Mccomb, a good prospect based out of Ireland. Gavin Guin, a Welsh fighter. I would expect Sean Mccomb to win that fight. Gavin Guin, he'll come to fight, but you know, every time he stepped up, he's fell short. So I think Sean Mccomb should have too much in that fight, but it's a pretty good test at this stage of Sean Mccomb's career. And obviously on the undercard, you've got some other young prospects who are starting out kind of thing. But yeah, that's a pretty good card for what it is. In the USA, it's going to be on ESPN Plus, and in the UK, I'm presuming it's going to be on IFL TV, but a good little card for what it is. Now let's move to February the 13th. Let's find it. Here we go. So February the 13th. This date right here is a very good date for boxing. There's a few cards to look out for, one of which being in the UK, headlined by Josh Warrington versus Maurizio Lara. Now this fight, I've got no interest in whatsoever, to be honest with you. It's a tune-up fight, it's a stay busy fight, it's a get-back fight. Josh Warrington, former world champion, vacated his IBF title against basically an unknown guy in Maurizio Lara. Josh Warrington should win, not really expecting anything special in that fight. In fact, I'm quite disappointed. But on the undercard, you've got a few fights to look out for. Lee Wood versus Rhys Mold for the vacant British featherweight title. Good fight. Both guys are quite fan-friendly, and it should be a competitive fight for that vacant title. Lee Wood is the more proven, more experienced guy. He's done well at domestic level, and Rhys Mold is the young prospect. I would favour Lee Wood, but you know, you never know in these sort of fights. Maybe Rhys Mold is something special. Maybe he's good enough to win that title right now. But it should be competitive. It should be fun. Looking forward to it. But I would make Lee Wood the favourite in that one. You've also got Zelfer Barrett fighting Kiko Martinez. Now this could be interesting. Kiko Martinez, former world champion, experienced. He's tough. He's durable. He has seen better days, to be honest with you. He's long past his best, but could still be a good test for Zelfer Barrett. Zelfer Barrett has talent. He's very athletically gifted, but he does have a lot of defensive flaws in his game. And, you know, he does get sloppy. Maybe an old experienced veteran like Kiko Martinez could expose that, who knows. I certainly believe Kiko Martinez is going to test Zelfer Barrett. And when you look at both guys fight, it should be fan-friendly. Kiko Martinez, he's aggressive, he's 100 miles an hour, he'll come forward and fight, and he's got power. Zelfer Barrett is a explosive type of fighter, good hand speed, decent power. Should be a fun fight to watch. I make Zelfer Barrett a favourite, but it's a good test for him at this stage. You've also got Dalton Smith versus Lee Appleyard. Now, Dalton Smith, a prospect to look out for in the UK, pretty big puncher, fun style. I would expect him to beat Lee Appleyard, but Lee Appleyard, he's a good test for like a young prospect in the UK. Good little bit of matchmaking there for Dalton Smith. But Dalton Smith, certainly a guy to watch out for. So yeah, this card, I'm interested in the few fights, but the main event really is a letdown, it has to be said. And apart from that, there's not really too much else on this card. No interest in Shannon Courtenay whatsoever. And Hopi Ivan Price, again, he is what he is really. You know, young prospect. I'm not really enthralled with Harvey Price, to be honest. But there we go. We'll now go over to America, and this card right here is a great card. This card is on DAZN USA, and by the way, the card in the UK is on Sky and DAZN in America. But yeah, February the 13th, brilliant card right here. On DAZN USA, headlined by Jojo Diaz versus Shatkajon Rakhimov. This fight is for the IBF Super Featherweight title, held by Jojo Diaz. Really, really good fight. Jojo Diaz, for me, one of the more underrated fighters in boxing currently. He's one of those guys who does everything well. He can box a bit, he can slug a bit, he can work the body, fight on the inside, fight on the outside. He's got relatively good defense, good hand speed. Jojo Diaz is one of those guys who does everything pretty well, to be honest. He's a well-rounded fighter. Rakhimov, very aggressive. He's a puncher with power in both hands, and he will take risks. I think he'll draw Jojo Diaz into a bit of a fight, and it should be entertaining. Rakhimov has a great chance in this fight. I am picking Jojo Diaz on points though, but it's a really competitive fight. And by the way, I've made a prediction for this fight on my channel, so if you want to see that video, just click on my channel and you can find it. And also on this card, we've got Patrick Texera defending his WBO Super Welterweight title against Brian Castano. So right here we've got a card with two world title fights. That's always great. And yeah, this fight between Texera and Brian Castano, really good fight. Both guys are fan friendly. Texera is a tall, rangy boxer, but he tends to get involved. He tends to have a bit of a tear up, doesn't really utilise his height and reach, and that's going to play into Brian Castano's hands, who's a smaller fighter for the weight class, but he's a come-forwards guy who's great on the inside. I think Texera is going to invite Castano into a bit of a war, and it's going to make for some real good TV. I make Brian Castano the favourite. I'm picking him to win. Again, I've done a prediction video for this fight on my channel, so if you want to check that out, go on my channel and you can find it. But a really good fight right here, and a really good card in general. Two world title fights, both of which are interesting and competitive. So fair play to DAZN USA. And on ESPN Plus in the US, another good card right here. Joe Smith Jr. versus Maxine Blassoff. Now this fight is for the vacant WBO light heavyweight title. Another competitive fight. I see this close to being a 50-50, but leaning towards Joe Smith Jr. Again, I've done a prediction video for this fight. I'm picking Joe Smith Jr., but not confidently. As we know, Joe Smith Jr., action fighter, power in both hands, aggressive, he'll come to fight. Everyone loves Joe Smith Jr., but Maxine Blassoff is no slouch. This is a guy right here who's campaigned at cruiserweight and held his own against some real good fighters like Krzysztof Glowacki. He knocked out Rakhim Shakayev at cruiserweight. Maxime Blassoff is big, he's strong, he's versatile, he can box a bit, he can fight a bit, and yeah, he's durable. This is going to make for a real fun fight. Will Joe Smith Jr.'s pressure and volume get the better of Maxime Blassoff? Or will Maxime Blassoff's versatility and better boxing ability get him the win? That's a real hard fight to call. I made that prediction video a little while ago, and ever since I've been back and forth in my own mind. Quite frankly, I'm not confident in my Joe Smith Jr. pick. It's a very competitive fight, and yeah, I expect it to be a good fight as well. And on the undercard, actually, you've got a really interesting fight right here between Richard Commey, the former IBF lightweight champion, and Jackson Martinez. Jackson Martinez, of course, most notable for getting robbed against Rolly Romero. That's a good fight. Commey, the puncher, big strong guy for lightweight, and Jackson Martinez, the boxer. I think Jackson Martinez's boxing style can give Richard Commey problems. Commey's a guy who likes to set his feet and trade power shots. And, you know, Martinez is a guy who uses his legs. So I could see Martinez giving Commey some real problems in this fight. But Richard Comey is no Rolando Romero. Comey is a lot better and a much harder fighter to beat in my opinion. So it's a hard fight to call. I'm not making a prediction for this fight. I could see it going either way. It's competitive and I'm looking forward to it. Good fight, good co-main event. Richard Comey versus Jackson Martinez. And also on the undercard, you've got Adam Lopez versus Jason Sanchez. Both guys at a lower level, but that could be a really good fight. Adam Lopez, a real fun fighter, as we saw in the fight with Oscar Valdez, and as is Jason Sanchez. Jason Sanchez always comes to bring it as well. Both guys are at a similar stage in their careers, and it's a fun fight. It is what it is. And you've also got the hot prospect, Xander Zayas, on the card as well. Really, really good prospect right there. And by the way, it's not listed on BoxRec, but I believe Adrian Broner is going to return on February the 13th, or February the 20th, one of the two, but it's not listed on BoxRec, just to let you guys know. We'll move on now anyway, we'll move on. Yeah, 17th of February, a Showbox card in the USA midweek. Not much to really look out for, but you do have Vladimir Shishkin, who's a super middleweight prospect out of Russia. Pretty decent, he's worth keeping an eye out on anyway. And you've also got George Arias, the heavyweight prospect, making his return. George Arias at one point was highly hyped actually. A lot of people were expecting big things from him, but he's never really developed. He's still not really fought anybody. So yeah, George Arias could be interesting seeing what he looks like these days. Friday the 19th of February, another MTK card, ESPN Plus in the US and IFL in the UK. Liam Walsh versus Paul Hyland Jr. for the vacant British lightweight title. I would expect Liam Walsh to win that fight relatively comfortably. And you've also got Darren Tetley versus Samuel Antwi as well. Could be a good little fight at English level. So that's a pretty good fun domestic card on a Friday. And yeah, let's move on. Saturday the 20th of February, won't cover this card, but Zhan Kazabutski is a good heavyweight prospect worth keeping an eye out on. Bloody hell, I can't speak. And now this card right here, this main event, 20th of February, Sky in the UK, DAZN in the USA, David Avenissian versus Josh Kelly, European welterweight title held by Avenissian. This is the big test for Josh Kelly. I won't tell you how I think this fight's going to go. I might make a prediction video nearer the time, but it's a really, really interesting fight. Josh Kelly, when he turned pro, had a lot of hype, but a couple of dodgy performances, people have really kind of jumped off a bandwagon, and a lot of people are expecting David Avenissian to expose Josh Kelly in this fight. Will that happen? Potentially. It's going to be very interesting. Avenissian, all-out aggression, a decent puncher as well, good volume, he's a strong guy, he's durable, and Josh Kelly, of course, a bit of a stylist, fights with his hands down, athletic, but not the biggest puncher. That could be a real interesting fight. And on the undercard, you've got Florian Marku versus Ryland Charlton. That should be a real fun fight. Both guys, again, similar stage of their careers. Both guys are aggressive. Both guys can punch a bit. That's going to be a barn burner right there. Florian Marku versus Ryland Charlton. You've got the debut of Johnny Fisher. Good fight. Good prospect from what I've been hearing. But again, that's word of mouth. I've not really seen this guy. I'm hearing what people are saying about him, and yeah, he's getting some good reviews. So it'll be interesting to see Johnny Fisher make his pro debut. He's a heavyweight prospect out of the UK, and you've also got Anthony Fowler making his return against Jorge Fortea. Never seen Jorge Fortea fight before, so I'm assuming Anthony Fowler's going to have a walkover right there. But yeah, you got that card right there has got a great main event. Josh Kelly, David Avenissian. Looking forward to that one. Let's move on. Here we go. 20th of February, ESPN Plus card. This is a top-ranked card as well. Miguel Burchell versus Oscar Valdez. Real fun fight for the WBC Super Featherweight title, held by Miguel Burchell. Both guys are aggressive, all Mexican battle. Burchell, the bigger, stronger guy. I'm picking him to win this fight. But Oscar Valdez won't go down. He won't go down easy. He won't die easy. And that's going to be a real fan-friendly affair. Both guys like coming forwards. Both guys throw punches with mean intentions. That's going to be a war. I can't see anybody in this fight getting on their bike and boxing. But I just believe... I believe Miguel Burchell's going to be too strong, and he'll walk down Oscar Valdez. He'll take a few shots. He'll have a few rocky moments, but I think he's going to stop Oscar Valdez in this fight late on. But it's a good fight, though. It's a good fight. You've also got Gabriel Flores Jr. versus Jason Velez on the undercard. Flores Jr., pretty good prospect. Decent test against Jason Velez. Anyway, did I miss something? I swear I missed something right there. No, I didn't. I didn't miss anything. And also, yeah, Thursday the 25th of February, Serhei Bohashuk versus Brandon Adams. Bohashuk is a prospect coming out of the Ukraine at super welterweight. Massive puncher, 18 fights, 18 knockouts. Bit of a blue chip prospect coming out of Ukraine, in with a good test against Brandon Adams. Brandon Adams took Jamal Charlo the distance. He can look after himself. He can survive. He's got good experience. That's a good test for Bohashuk. And it's going to be a good gauge of how hard Bohashuk really hits, because Brandon Adams took Jamal Charlo's power relatively comfortable. I know he was good defensively in that fight, but still, he showed a pretty good chin in that fight. So a good test for Serhei Bohashuk. Definitely worth looking out for. Good prospect coming out of Ukraine. Bloody hell, we've got the return of Sakio Bika on the 26th of February, if you want to watch that. I don't. Let's have a look on the 27th. Is there anything on the 27th? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Of course there is. 27th of February, Jamel Herring versus Kyle Frampton. Really good fight. Jamel Herring, the WBO super featherweight champion. Kyle Frampton, the challenger. Kyle Frampton looking to become a freeweight world champion. Big ask, in my opinion. Jamel Herring, much taller, much longer. Just naturally the bigger guy. I think both guys going into this fight have shown me reasons for concern. Jamel Herring talking about retirement. Kyle Frampton, to me, not looked the same for quite some time. I think that's a hard fight to call, to be honest, but I would lean towards Jamel Herring, you know, based on the height, the reach, and yeah, I think he's going to be a hard style for Kyle Frampton. But yeah, it's a good fight. It's an interesting fight, and certainly worth looking out for. And again, a world title fight. BT in the UK, ESPN in the USA. And on the undercard, a really good British title fight. Anthony Kakache versus Leon Woodstock. This should be an absolute barn burner. Leon Woodstock is really good value for money. I describe him as a budget Eubank Jr. Really athletically gifted, but a lot of holes in his game. I would expect Anthony Kakache to win that fight, to be honest. But it will be fan friendly while it lasts. I'll say that much. And of course, 27th of February, we have the return of Canelo. He's fighting Avni Yildirim, his WBC Mando. You know, Canelo's fighting is going to be a big occasion, but his opponent is absolutely terrible. Avni Yildirim got knocked out in 3 rounds by Chris Eubank Jr. That goes to show his level, to be honest. Canelo's going to brush this guy aside like nothing. But on the undercard, you do have Julio Cesar Martinez versus McWilliams Arroyo. That's a good fight. Arroyo's a real hard guy. Good chin. He comes to fight. And Martinez, one of the most fan-friendly styles in the whole of boxing as far as I'm concerned. So this fight right here, in my opinion, will steal the show. I expect Martinez to win, but I think Arroyo will give him some challenges, to be honest. But a good fight. And apart from that, you have prospects on the undercard. You've got Zili Zhang fighting Jerry Forrest, Diego Pacheco, etc., etc. So there we go. And by looks of it, that is pretty much it from what I can see. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it basically. So yeah, February, in my opinion, looking quite strong for boxing. Some real good cards, some real good fights. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Some real good fights this month. Anyway, share your thoughts below. What's your favourite fights of February? Are you looking forward to these fights? Let me know what you guys think.